them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. For people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more.
Dearest family, friends, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Reverend Pamela Bollinger, Bill's sister-in-law and sister of Susan. I also serve as a pastor at the Church of the Comforter in Santa Barbara. We'd like to thank everyone, all of you, for being here today. And I'd like to begin with a prayer. Infinite Spirit of love and wisdom, we're grateful to share this time together as we celebrate the life and spirit of William Buick Molkenbuhr, beloved husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, dear friend, and colleague. Thank you all for being here today to share in the love that fills this space. By your presence here today, you show that Bill has indeed left a mark in your life and in your hearts. Your presence here is a prayer of gratitude for the life and the amazing spirit of Bill that we continue to love. Also known as Billy, Papa, Uncle Billy, and sometimes for those of you who've known him a long time, Wild Bill. Each of us is here today because of our love for Bill and his love for us. It is our individual spirit that enlivens our physical being as humans. And I think most of us would agree that Bill had one of the biggest, most exuberant, generous, and adventurous spirits many of us have ever known. Today, we will celebrate his life, his spirit, as we share some very precious moments together. So thank you, dear Bill, for bringing us all together, because today we celebrate you. So I'm announcing, first of all, that we're going to have lunch served in just the next few minutes. During this lunchtime, which will go probably 45 minutes, an hour, Sue, is that good? Well, we'll know when to come back. Please enjoy the beautiful slideshow that has been put together by Deo Lopez. Thank you, Deo. So enjoy the slideshow. So welcome again, everyone. Thank you for bringing your love and your spirits and your gratitude here today. Thank you.
The Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions.
The Russian president says a military operation is now underway in East
More than 2 billion COVID-19 vaccines administered worldwide.
Sky television.
I just saw another plane coming in from the south.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I have a dream that one day.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. I swear we've been through everything there is. Can't imagine anything we've missed. Can't imagine anything the two of us can't do. Through the years, you never let me down. You turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I've stayed right here with you through the years.
Back when I was a child, before life removed all the innocence, my father would lift me high and dance with my mother and me, and then spin me around till I fell asleep. Then up the stairs he would carry me, and I knew for sure I was loved. If I could get another chance, another walk, another dance with him, I'd play a song that would never, ever end. How I'd love, love, love to dance with my father again. Ooh. When I and my mother would disagree, to get my way I would
got a fast car, and I wanna take it to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. You got a fast car, and I got a plan to get us out of here. Been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far, just to cross the border and into the city. And you and I can both get jobs, finally see what it means to be living. See, my old man's got a problem. He live in the bottle, that's the way it is. Said his body's too old for working, his body's too young to look like his. So mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's gotta take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? Still gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way. So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast I felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone.
Everybody here ain't from here, but we're here doing our thing. Letting go a little, little by little, sipping on a frozen drink. Tiki bars taking, pouring all weekend, clouds ain't leaking no rain. Two pieces shaking, white caps breaking, we ain't feeling no pain. It goes like one margarita, two margarita, three margarita shot. Don't worry about tomorrow, leave all your sorrow out here on the floating dock. When that sun lays down, we'll be on our way. One more barefoot round, one more last chance to say, hey senorita, don't you think we need a salt and a buffet song? One margarita, two margarita, three margarita, we'll be gone. Blue sky shades on the ice to tuck the bloodshot away. Hair of the dog shouldn't take long, but who cares, we got all day. Palm trees are leaning, sunburned screaming, but we'll all be alright. After one margarita, two margarita, three margarita shot. Don't worry about tomorrow, leave all your sorrow out here on the floating dock. When that sun lays down, we'll be on our way. One more barefoot round, one more last chance to say, hey senorita, don't you think we need a salt and a Marley song? One margarita, two margarita, three margarita, we'll be gone. We'll be gone. Taking, pouring all weekend, clouds ain't leaking no rain. Two pieces shaking, white caps are breaking, we ain't feeling no pain, feeling no pain.
Nathan has a big sister, her name is Zoe, everybody should know. And I tell you, she is such a sister, she tells little Nathan. If you're happy and you know it's your parade.
Video go.
That's it. That's my movie.
Good job. Yeah.
Took all the memories we shared, stored them away in a place somewhere. Can you remember how we used to fight? We were just children living happy lives.
So now we've come to the time of our celebration where we will hear folks speak about their memories about Bill. We want to also thank Deo Lopez again for the beautiful slideshow. What a beautiful job. Thank you so much. We're so grateful. I thought I had it together till I saw the slideshow, but oh boy, that was very moving and touching, and really so lovely how he included all parts of his life and all family, friends, and we're very grateful. So it is my honor to begin the speaking portion of this celebration with Bill's brothers. And first of all, let us welcome Ed Molkenbuhr. Ed?
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to speak today because our flight arrived here about an hour ago, so better late than never, I guess. I'm Bill's older brother, actually his oldest brother. And most of my experience in remembering Bill was his younger years when I was 17 years old and he was like 8 or 9.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. We've been asked to really speak into the microphone.
Oh.
Because we're videoed.
Oh.
So
Okay. Hi, I'm Ed Molkenbuhr.
Thanks. Thank you.
And I don't know any jokes. But the times that I remember Bill was kind of when I was dating what would be future wife, and I would bring her down there, and Bill would kind of hang on a little bit and try and make her laugh. And he was a bit of a jokester, as you all probably know. He was the kind of guy who, if he could act silly, he was in heaven. I mean, that was it. And it was always very difficult for me to understand how a guy who could be silly all the time could actually be as smart as he was. But over the years, we had a lot of family events. We used to hold Thanksgiving at our house, and my wife would make the turkey, and somebody else would bring the beans, and somebody would bring the potatoes. But Bill would bring a shrimp salad. And when Bill came in, he would sort of clear everybody out because he was going to start making his shrimp salad. You remember that, Sue? And Terry said, well, I got to get the turkey in, you know. No, I've got to make my salad. It was actually a good salad, though. But I know my brother Rich is going to talk, and he's one that probably was closer to Bill. He was the one that Bill beat up. My other brother Paul, he was the one that beat up Bill. But he was, I think Rich was quite close to him. I lived down in Southern California in San Clemente, but for the last 30 years, Bill has been my tax guy, if you will. And so every year, religiously, I packet up all the stuff and I send it to him, and I do a spreadsheet. I started out in accounting myself, by the way, so I do know what spreadsheets are. I didn't last long, but I did learn that part of it. But I used to send it with this spreadsheet, and every year he'd say, "You don't need to do the spreadsheet. I've got all the data here. I mean, just leave it alone." But I like to do that. But this year ago, when Bill got sick the first time, he called me and said, "I'm not your accountant anymore. I can't do this." And it was unfortunate. So I was a little stressed because I'm 76 years old and I can't count anymore. But I did it myself, and lo and behold, I got a notice from the Franchise Tax Board, seriously, 2 weeks ago, for taking an estimated tax that I didn't really pay on the return. So I'm going to miss Bill, and I already do. But he was a great brother. He was a great father. He was a good friend, and I'll love him to death. So with that, I'd like to
Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from Bill's brother, Rich Molkenbuhr. Rich. Let's put this up, yes.
Can everybody hear me, I guess? I hope. Thanks. Well, I want to thank you all for coming today, obviously. And I hope I can get through this. Yeah, it's the doggone mic, put onions in it. I hope that. When my sister Sue asked me to say a few things about my brother Bill, I was kind of at a loss for words, which anyone in our family can tell you is very rare. I don't think there's anyone in our family that's at a loss for words. So it's kind of hard for me to convey what Bill meant to me in my life. As my brother mentioned, he had two jobs, really. One was to pound me into the pavement, and the other was to, show me the ropes. Because we had a kind of a separation in age between the five boys, it fell to Bill to kind of be my guide. And as with most things in life, he took to that with enthusiasm. He would teach me things, situations that I might encounter in life. He would help me along, like, how to talk to girls, how not to talk to girls, and also, giving me the ability to get by in school. He'd always tell me how I should do something, how I should do it right, or how I should do it his way. And so it just always worked out well. But he was never mean-spirited about it. It was just the way we grew up. I think my mom probably thought she was raising a pack of feral dogs. But in truth, it was great, because although we might be at each other's throats wrestling one minute, if somebody were to step in, why, of course, then they'd face the pack, as it was, because we were all so close. And even more so, as my brother Ed said, because we're separated in age, as we got older, all the ages seemed to disappear, particularly when we all got gray hair. Then we all seemed to be the same age all of a sudden. I don't know how that worked, but there's probably some math you guys could figure out how to make that work. Sue wanted me to talk about some of the things that we did as kids, and I always remember being we were on the Russian River every summer, and we'd go exploring and swimming, just adventuring, catching pollywogs and frogs. And Bill was very good at that. He enjoyed that very much. And so he was good at a lot of things. And of course, he never had any problem telling you that. But he also had a crazy streak, and he would take some risks that didn't always end the way he planned. I remember the first time that he decided to jump off the Hacienda Bridge into the Russian River. And after the jump, he turned to me and says, I think I should wear some tennis shoes next time. And I said, yeah, it's probably a good idea. He had to sit for a little while the sting in his feet disappeared. I don't know how high the Hacienda Bridge is. It's probably about 60 feet. It was a pretty good jump. And so, goes to show you Bill was a quick learner. As I got bigger, Bill came to the realization that sometimes it was better to convince me to try something first. Again, that was just for the sake of my manhood, he would say, maybe you should go first this time. And so, again, leading me forward. So I remember our trips as a kid going to Green Creek, and that's an area in, I don't know if you know where the town of Bridgeport is in the Sierras, but at the time it was extremely remote and very primitive, and we were way up in the hills. It was probably around 7,000 feet, something like that. And as soon as we would get there and could get out of setting up camp, Bill would have a fishing pole in his hand, and off he'd go. And I'd tag along and try my best to catch fish with him. And I could never catch as many. And one of the pictures you saw of him with all the fingerlings on his fish, that was from Green Creek, one of the younger ones. And danged if he didn't always beat me on that. I don't know how he did, but I think he just stared at the fish and mesmerized him or something. I'm not sure. So, he also looked out for me many times, many times. And I remember one time we were in Green Creek, and we convinced my dad to let us go put a tent up on a bluff. We went with a couple of families, and we were going to go up there and sleep in the tent. And so we got up there, and I turned to Bill at one point, and I said to him, I go, because bears would come down to get the scraps and stuff every night. So he said, do you think it's going to be okay? And I was, really nervous about being there. And he said, no, it's okay, it's okay. He said, hold on, let me just go over. He handed me a hatchet. He said, you just hold on to this, it'll be fine. So I told him, I said, well, what, you think he'd take a bear down with this? And he said, oh, not a chance, bro, but maybe you'll sleep better. I said, fair enough. Like I said, he was always looking out after me, so. And, when I think about that, I can still feel the warmth and the handle of that hatchet. And I think probably I left some finger impressions in the thing too, So it was great. He kind of was like my guide, and being as much as he was an outdoorsman, he was kind of like my scout leader. And so Bill, he had many occasions where he would put himself in harm's way, and I guess that was just from growing up in a house full of testosterone. But he would always find something to do. We would always find something to do. When we were growing up, there was a barn on top of a hill about a mile away from our house, and this barn was infested with rattlesnakes. I mean, infested with them. Not 5, not 10. You just couldn't even walk in this thing. Bill didn't care. He wanted to go catch them. So he and his partner in crime, a friend of his by the name of Ricky Romaine, would always go up there, and Bill was armed with nothing but a forked stick. And they'd go up there and collect these snakes and come back and tell me tales about it. I remember one time he took me up there, and he was going to show it to me because I'd heard so many stories. And so he looks at me and says, you only have one job. I said, what's that? He goes, you stand back. I said, and if you see anything coming up behind me, you tell me, okay? So, that's fine with me. I'll be right over here. So, and he'd go, And so he, like I say, he Sometimes not, and other times he just, man, was the bravest guy I ever saw as a brother. And one of the things that Bill gave me in life that I truly appreciate is my love of music too. Bill first started playing, and I thought it was cool, obviously, at that time and age. I thought it was very cool. And so he told me you should take it up. And he actually helped me get my first guitar when he was working at Wilmer's. And since then, I have been playing guitar and piano, taught myself both, and we, would have a lot of times playing together. In fact, when Bill first got married, Sue and he lived just a few blocks away from us. And so it was one of the most cherished times of my life. I could go over to Bill's house, go in the garage, and we would just jam. We were rattling windows, and this sweetheart never said one thing once to us for doing that. Just left us be. And it was, it's great. There's too many to recount, too many memories to recount, but that was another one, And so, as we get older, there's so many memories I could say to you, but there's no way to really color them with the feeling that one gets when you're doing it with your brother, because there's always like this secret. Well, you girls with your sisters would know this. There's like this little secret thing between you when you're close, and so there was. I guess when you get older and you move on, you have children and grandchildren, and sometimes you lose that connection. But there's really nothing that will take that away from me. And you all being here, that helps me a lot. It really does. And one day, if I'm lucky enough, I'm going to tell them that Pink Floyd is so much better than the Grateful Dead. And I guarantee you, he's spitting nickels. I love my brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for sharing those beautiful memories. Thank you. And now, I'm so honored to present my nephew, Bill's son, Chris Molkenbuhr, who will do the eulogy.
Hi, everybody. I just want to start by kind of preemptively apologizing if I'm just kind of looking down and reading at this paper today. Normally, I'm a decent public speaker, certainly not as good as my dad. But under the circumstances, I hope you grant me a little leeway. If my dad was here, he would be up here being the MC, cracking jokes, getting all the attention as usual. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here to come celebrate Dad's life. Just the outpouring of condolences and concern from the folks here and folks who couldn't make it today has just been staggering since he passed, and I really think it's a testament to the kind of man he was. People who met my dad and got to know him ended up loving him. He was personable and warm and full of wit. He was always eager to strike up a conversation, always willing to help someone out. Despite being a busy guy, he would always make time for you if you asked. So I think it's pretty much impossible to try to encapsulate everything about the man that he was in a speech like this, so I'm not really going to try. If you're here today, it's because you know the kind of person that he was. Instead of trying to do that, I just kind of wanted to share some of my favorite memories with him and a few stories from his life. So one of my earliest and most fondest memories with my father was when I was in kindergarten. So Dad was going back to school at USF, and Mom was working. So Dad would pick me up every day and take care of me. We would go down to this local toy store called Talbot's that was down the street, and my dad would buy these little paper airplanes. They were kind of cardboard, and they had a little wind-up propeller, and you could fly them, and he would take me over to Central Park to fly them around. And so on the way to the park, we would stop at this little store, and he'd say, you know, if you want a candy, go grab a candy or something, you know. And I always thought that was great. And he would always get himself a can of some kind of drink while we were there, which for some reason he always insisted on drinking out of a brown paper bag. I never quite figured out what was in that can, but I figured it was like coffee because he never let me try it. Pop was a pretty free spirit in his youth, as some of you saw from some of those pictures up there. He started playing guitar around 7 after stealing one from his sister, and he was instantly hooked. He grew out his hair and wanted to be a rock star. He played night and day. After enrolling at Sarah High School, they gave him an ultimatum that he had to either cut his hair or leave. I guess which one he picked. He was at San Mateo High a few weeks later. I remember when I was literally little, my dad would wake us up in the morning by playing his guitar. He'd come into our room. I remember kind of being slightly annoyed at first because it meant I had to get up. But a few minutes later, I'd be laughing hysterically because Pop would make up the most ridiculous songs to sing to us. My favorite one that he made up of all time was this one called Yellow Water, which is actually about taking a pee, you know. I mean, it's really low-brow humor, but for a 5 or 6-year-old, that's like the pinnacle of comedy. I still laugh about those songs today. And when I became a father, I started doing that to my own kids. And when I told my dad about the dumb songs that I would sing to them, it always made him laugh too. He really enjoyed that. So I actually didn't start playing guitar. As you know, my dad was a big guitarist. He loved his guitars and his music. I actually didn't start playing guitar until about high school. I think he actually wanted me to start earlier than that, but I was kind of interested in other things. So when I finally asked him to teach me to play, I thought he would like ecstatically say yes and sit me next to him just to learn and, you know, give me all the things. Instead, kind of to my bemusement, he just bought like a $5 chord book and threw it at me, and he said, "I can't teach you anything until you learn these things, learn these basic chords." So I practiced, and eventually I became kind of proficient at that. I didn't know it at the time, but he was setting me up to be his rhythm guitarist for nearly the next 30 years. We'd play for hours and hours together with me strumming the same 3 chords, E, A, B, E, A, B, over and over, while he would do all the cool solos, kick his legs in the air, and play like he was Jimi Hendrix. And in high school, Pop and my mom were kind enough to let our house be kind of the hangout spot for me and all my hooligan friends. We caught hell a few times when we drank all of his beer, but he loved people being over there, loved to talk to them, loved to tell us about all the cool things he did when he was a kid. He was like a second father to a lot of my friends, and I like to think a big part of why we're still close today. That kind of like giving and welcoming nature was really intrinsic in him. About a week or so ago, after he passed, all my friends came over to see how my mom was doing, and we all sat in the backyard like we had done, you know, however many years ago it was. I know that Pop would have just loved that and would have been there drinking a beer with us, talking our ears off like he always did. Let's see. So as a lot of you know, Pop was a huge 49ers fan. He told me that he started going to their games when they were playing at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco. And after the games, he and his friends would collect the seat cushions, and I guess they could return them for a nickel apiece. So he was like a young entrepreneur, basically. Dad had season tickets to Candlestick and then Levi's since 1979. And I think I was about 5 or 6 when he started taking me to every game. So any big moment there, since 1986, I got to see in person, which was a lot of good games. Some of our happiest times came together in that tradition of going to the games each week. We always had to walk to the stadium in the exact same way and sit in the exact same seats. Dad in seat 8, myself in seat 7, or else we'd put some sort of voodoo on the 49ers and they would probably lose the game. I remember one time for a big game, we had to walk back like almost a mile because we realized we had been on the wrong side of the street for about a block. So we walked all the way back, went back in the stadium. Everything was fine. Got to our seats. I can't remember if they won, but I think so. Anyway, You know, I've spoken to a couple of my friends whose fathers passed away too soon and unexpectedly, and they mentioned that kind of after that initial devastation, that the sadness kind of comes in fits and starts. You'll feel maybe okay for a day or two, then something will remind you of him, and you'll be back to where you started. It's really hard knowing that I won't get to see him all the time. I'm kind of dreading like that first Thanksgiving, that first Christmas, that first Niner game without him. But I know that my pop would want me just to get on with it. He'd want me to keep helping to take care of my mom and my wife like he did, and to keep taking care of my kids and try to be the kind of father to them as he was to me. My father, when he'd get to talking to you, he'd start a conversation with you, and something he always would say is, well, to make a long story short, and then he never did, ever. I'd really give anything to hear one of those long stories again. I miss you, Pop, and I love you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chris. That was lovely. Now we're going to hear from some of Bill's Siler colleagues. So we have some words from, first of all, Michael Goldstein. Michael.
Well, yes, Bill and I shared office space next door to each other for a long time. And his skill set and mine sort of complemented each other. He was the answer guy for a lot of estate and gift stuff, and I pretty much knew everything else. One of the pictures that on the slideshow was he and I holding a trophy that we won at it was a Cancer Society tournament at the Olympic Club, 2010, I think. I remember that day really well. He and I went and were paired up with a couple other players, and our team didn't play worth a damn that day. But somehow, because of our indexes and the fuzzy math that they were able to pull off at the end, we walked home with a trophy, and that's like the funniest thing. Every time Bill and I would sort of look at that trophy and just laugh at each other, because it was not a good day at the course. But somehow we came away with it. Bill and I were also friends, played a lot of golf outside of Siler tournaments and whatnot, and played off each other quite a bit at the office. He and I both were coming in all through COVID, and appreciated having the friendship there. And I think he was sort of the big boisterous guy, and I was the sidekick in most of these kind of events. You look at the Halloween events, and he was Captain Hook and I was the Swabby. But it all worked out, and we loved each other quite a bit, and it was really wonderful to know Bill all these years, and I'll miss him.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks so much. And now we have a few words from Lupita McLean. Lupita.
Okay, so actually I have some words from our chairman, Jim DeMartini, who's not here today, and he really, really wanted to be here. So I'm gonna read what he wrote. So I'll start. I'm sorry I can't be with you all today. Hard to describe Bill in a couple of minutes. Bill was a big personality and an important part of the heart and soul of Siler for the last 33 years. Bill was a partner, colleague, and friend to all of us. No matter what the situation, Bill usually had a joke to tell, albeit not always politically correct. Who can forget Bill's James Earl Jones voice, like voice booming over the PA system, including his role as the Ghost Systems administrator. The ghost system, oh brother, what a thankless task. Bill was an organizer of all of Silert's sports pools. I used to kid with Bill we needed to add a function code for the time we spent at the pools. By the way, somehow Bill managed to win more than most of us. Guess he had a serious knowledge advantage, especially where his beloved 49ers were involved. As the head of our trust and estate department, Bill did an exemplary job. In the early years, Bill was truly a department of one. Creative trust and estate planning is one of the most value-added services we provide to our clients. I used to marvel at how Bill would go toe-to-toe with the most respected estate planning attorneys in America. Invariably, the attorney would call to report how talented and pragmatic Bill was. Since this is a public forum, I will stop short of mentioning the amount of taxes Bill saved our clients. It's a very big number. Bill was one of a kind, a talented, caring, humorous, and emotional guy. We will all miss you, Bill. Jim DeMartini. And now I'd like to say a few words from all of us here at Siler on Bill. So today, as we come together to celebrate Bill, he was one of our beloved and one-of-a-kind partner who touched so many people. His journey began with us in the summer of 1990, and throughout his dedicated career, he became a partner in 2007, and then he became of counsel in 2020. Bill was a force of nature, a man who brought vibrancy, humor, and a touch of sarcasm to our lives. Bill's zest for life was truly infectious. He had an incredible ability to find humor in the everyday and reminded us not to take life too seriously. During our tax busy seasons, we could hear Jimi Hendrix or the Grateful Dead blaring out of his office. He was also very involved in our culture, and he wore many hats. From being our resident DJ to our sports bookie, dinner announcer, golf tournament leader, Halloween judge, and a total ham at any Siler party. Bill also had a fiery side to him. And those of us that worked with him would once in a while see an angry storm that would surge forth. But like a passing thunderstorm, his anger would dissipate almost as quickly as it appeared. He was a passionate man and approached challenges with intensity. He was human, he was imperfect. But beyond all his amazing qualities and fun nature, Bill was a man of deep kindness and empathy. He had a unique ability to sense when a friend needed a pick-me-up, a reassuring word, or simply a shoulder to lean on. Bill's legacy is not just about his successful career, but the impact he made along the way. He showed us the importance of finding joy in life's everyday moments, using humor to navigate its complexities, and leading with a big heart full of kindness. Rest in peace, Bill. While we mourn your absence, we are grateful for our time with you and the laughter you brought into our lives. You will be deeply missed, but your memory will continue to bring smiles to our faces, and your spirit will forever be part of the fabric of our firm. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupita. Thank you so much for sharing that. Beautiful. So now we'd like to open up the mic to you, family, friends. Please be welcome now to share your memories. And if you don't want to stand behind the mic, we can take this off and you can hold it out here. I don't think it reaches too far, but you're welcome. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so who would like to begin with? Okay, this is my son, Todd Bollinger. Todd. Uncle Billy.
So Bill's my uncle, and I'd fall into that camp as Uncle Billy, Wild Bill. And somebody mentioned the word colorful earlier, I heard in conversations, and he was such a colorful person in my life. Through all the family dinners, the holidays, we'd have dinner, have dessert, and we'd play poker afterwards. It was like a tradition. And Bill would just bring this, he's competitive, as you all know. But he's competitive, he has that humor, and he would bring this comedy to it. And so if he was dealing, let's say 7-card stud, and you throw out a couple cards, he would just start trying to rhyme, like 5 and 4, well, that's a bore, and 6 and 2, well, that might be a poo, or something like that. And it was, I don't know, it was just entertainment, and he did have a big heart. And I remember one year or two, as I got older, I spent a year actually crab fishing. It was my rookie and retirement season in 1 year. And I was staying with Aunt Sue and Uncle Bill. I was working out in Half Moon Bay, and about every week I'd bring home all these crab, and we just feast. And it was just, it was such a wonderful time I got to spend with him in that moment. And in 2019, we got to go to Disneyland together, all of us. That was actually the last time, unfortunately, that I saw him in person. I saw him online through Zoom. But it was such good memories, and he was just, there's a big void, and I'm sure all of you can feel that in the family and in the workspace. But love him very much, and so.
Thanks, Todd. And you just reminded me of a memory I had. We would go, after Sue and Bill got married, we would go have Christmas often with Bill at Bill's parents' house. And they'd always have someone dress up like Santa Claus, that really looked like Santa Claus, and bring presents. And all the little kids who didn't really know that wasn't really Santa Claus would just have such a fun. And I think, Todd, how old were you when you got to play Santa Claus? Like just young, like a young teenager? Yeah, so that was fun. So we had many fun Christmases at the Molkenbuhr house. So who else would like to say a few words? Anybody? Okay. Sorry, I give you the eye. This is Allison, and she is Bill's niece.
Yes. My mom, Gail, is the eldest of the 5 brothers. So she got to witness a lot of the pummeling and wondered why there were a lot of holes in the wall, because a brother or two would miss another brother. I spent many summers with Bill and Sue visiting my cousin Leslie, so it was pretty much the end of May. I would call my aunt up and say, when can I come down? And they just kept me every summer. And my first trip to Disneyland was with my aunt and uncle. And I was a witness to many of the lowbrow songs, because my cousin and I, Leslie, would try to stay up till the sun would come up, and then Uncle Bill would come in, jamming with his, guitar, and we'd all look at him like he was crazy. And then, like my cousin Chris said, we'd all fall into laughter, because there was always laughter with him. And it was always who was going to get the old-fashioned donut, because he and I both loved the old-fashioned donuts. So I had lots of good memories with my Uncle Bill, and thank you for all coming. Thank you for supporting his family and honoring his life. He's a truly amazing guy, and that funny, witty humor came from my grandma. I you know, and the lack of not being able to say something, that's my grandma too. So, you know, we miss our family. We miss Bill very much. And, you know, thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Allison. So who would like to say a few words? John. This is John Gardner. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hello, John Gardner, first husband of Susan. But thank you, it was my pleasure. No, but Bill was great. I mean, he was a 49er fan, I remember. 1981-82 Super Bowl. I mean, that was the first year that I got my Super Bowl, my 49er tickets. We went there and we enjoyed that victory. It was so great. And and then many more to come, of course. But he was such a great guy, other than being a 49er fan. He got us our first dog, Wendy. It was a golden retriever that he got from a workmate up in Pete Marwick, I think, whatever. I forget the name of the CPA firm. But we went up to Marin and got Malachi. And he was great. Great dog. We loved him. And, you know, he's been so, the Loma Prieta, anybody remember that? Earthquake? Yeah, well, I was on a bus, 32 Embarcadero, never felt a thing, and get to the train depot, everybody's running around crazy. I don't understand what's going on. And yeah, there was an earthquake. And I see Bill, and he comes up to me, hey, how you doing and everything. But he was so lucky, he got a ride home, somebody drove him home or something. I said, I'll just stay here on the train. Let's see, I think it left at 3 a.m. They had to check all the tracks all the way down, but he was calling Wendy every hour, saying where I was, what was going on. So that's the type of guy he was. Sorry, I'm a Pisces. I get a little emotional. But may you rest in peace. Godspeed to Bill and you, Susan. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you. So there we go. Another example of Bill bringing us all together after all these years. My goodness. So may I pass the mic to someone? No? Yep. Oh, please come. Hi. Hi, how are you? Paul.
Captain Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you for like 50 years. Something like that. I don't know.
Seems like a blink. So I'm an older brother, Bill. Sorry. He was the greatest brother. Greatest brother. Totally solid. A genius in my world. He left the family and went on his own to vagabond. Did you know that he worked for a circus? No kidding. No kidding. He worked for a circus. He was in charge of backing a truck up to put a center pole in the circus. Crazy. Here was a kid who had, in my world, like I said, he was a genius. He got fired because he knocked down the center pole. The entire thing dropped to the ground. They said, "You're done." And he moved on to music. I said to him, I said, "Dude, you got this so easy. I struggle. Every day I struggle with school. And you could fly through this stuff." And I couldn't believe He came back to the family, came back to the world as we know it, and went on to get his degree, get his CPA license, and go on after missing 6 months, 9 months of school, and go on to tutor kids in his own grade group and beyond. Now, we had long discussions because I was the world-renowned loser school-wise, and he was something I hadn't even attempted to achieve. He's a great guy. I was an enabler. I'd give him smokes when he quit. We'd have a couple cocktails. I got him. And I'm very sad for him to go as my junior. Of 6 kids, he was the first to leave us. I'm crushed. But on a lighter note, he also was the biggest kidder in the world. He could fire off what he needed to say when he needed to say it. He'd give me literature and, not literature, but he'd speak to CPA issues, and you have to do this and prepare for this and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, dude, what do I need to send you? You need an estate plan. A what? You know, he was that kind of guy. He could flip switch from social to business in a heartbeat, and you'd never know. Never know. I would imagine that you all miss him as I will in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. It's really good to see you here. So, who else would like to say a few words? Anybody? Yeah. Oh, good. This is Fred Deanda. Fred.
I just want to say, I've been a member of the family for a long time. Probably about, since 1990. 33 years. I've known Chris since he's been a little kid. I've known all his friends. I've been a good part of the family. And I just want to say I've had a lot of great memories with Bill. He's taught me a lot of good things in life. He's been a good man, like you all have said. And I have those memories of going to Candlestick with him, like Chris was saying. We had to go to Piccolo Pete's every time, and we'd get our deli sandwich and a 6-pack of Coors Banquet beers. It had to be Coors Banquet. It couldn't be Coors Light, it couldn't be Bud, it had to be the Coors Banquet. We had a tradition, and then we'd go back down, and we'd walk up the block, and we'd come back down and walk a certain path, and we had to walk underneath the Candlestick Tunnel, go to our seats, and it was, and I also remember it was 1998, the Terrell Owens catch, the playoff game against Green Bay. It was pouring rain. We were all drenched, and Bill was just like, let's go. Me and Chris were like, God, we're like, it was drenched, we were soaking wet, and we had trudged through, and it was great. We had the best time of our life. The Niners won. It was great, and people were talking about his fishing skills. I'll tell you one thing. This guy was the best fisherman I have ever known in my life. And we would go fishing in places that I wouldn't even imagine. I'm like, where are you taking me? And we'd go down this creek, and we just throw our poles in the water, and boom, boom, boom. And you're like, my gosh, how did I get here? And it was good times, you know, I just want to say. And I mean, I've had many trips to Hawaii, Disneyland, Thanksgivings, Christmases, my kids, everything. And just the Easters, I mean, our Easter times with all our families. At Rich and Carol's, it was a lot of good times, you know. We had a lot of good times there too. And I just want to say, Bill, thank you for the good memories, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. Well, if we have no more folks who want to share any memories, I'm going to now ask Bill's beloved wife, my sister Sue, who would like to say a few words. Sue.
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say Bill would have loved this gathering. He would have loved to be up here speaking to all of you right now, in charge of this whole event. And I want to say there's been a lot of life lived between meeting Bill on Burlingame Avenue in 1978 and spending 45 years together. We met at the Bit of England. I was with my cousin Trudy, and Bill was with his brother Rich. You remember, right? He knew I worked in a beauty shop around the corner from Wolmer's music store where he worked, and he said he needed a trim. His hair was down to here. And that was the beginning. I don't think he really needed a trim, but anyway, that's how it all started. So he did get his hair cut eventually and proceeded every year. It got shorter and shorter and shorter. And times were challenging, but with a family, Bill set his mind to going back to school. Although he wanted to go to law school, he realized that with the family, he had no time to lose, and instead went into business and accounting to become a CPA. Work, family, and sporting events took up most of his time. Bill loved being with the kids and the grandkids, and he loved teaching them about things, especially nature. He was pretty much a big kid himself. A lot of our fondest memories included family trips to Disneyland, Hawaii, camping, sporting events. But Bill loved working for Siler, and the Halloween parties were one of his favorites there. He loved dressing up and picking out the costumes. In more recent days, a typical and wonderful day would be doing the spelling bee together, the New York Times spelling bee. He was very competitive. He had to reach the genius level before he could go off to work. So if he was close to genius, he would tell me, now don't give me a word, you go out and come back in a few minutes. So I wouldn't give him a word till after he got to the genius. Anyway, it was fun. We had fun every morning doing that with our coffee, and hopefully I'll try to keep up the tradition of the morning spelling bee, but I'm afraid I probably won't make genius, but I'll keep trying, Bill. Another typical day would be Bill cooking a great meal. He was a great cook. He'd play his custom-made Stratocaster guitar with his jammers, and we'd listen and sing along. And then we'd like to watch our PBS and our Masterpiece Theater, and he especially loved Hercule Poirot. He called him Pop Rot. He loved old westerns, cowboys, Perry Mason. The Three Stooges were one of his favorites. It brought back a lot of fond childhood memories. So tonight, Poirot is on, and I'll be watching. Bill was my everything. He was my IT guy, my GPS, my cook, my walking encyclopedia of knowledge. In the last few months, he was quite impressed with my computer skills, which were all due to his teachings. He would say, "Well, look at you on the computer." Bill was always thoughtful and kind and took good care of his girls, including my mom, Joanne, who'd been staying with us. And in closing, I have so many people to thank. Thank you to my family, my children, Bill's family, Bill's Seiler family, who have helped me so much through this difficult time. That would be George Marinos and Marla Sari, Lupita McLean, and Larry Degoni. I don't think he's here, but Nina Demers, and especially Michael Goldstein and his wife, Teresa, who've helped me so much and been so very generous with their time, their love, and their support. Bill treasured your friendships dearly. And most of all, I'd like to thank Bill for taking me with him on this great adventure, and I'm looking forward to our next one together.
So, thanks, Sue. Thank you. Thanks for inviting us to honor Bill in this beautiful way. I know he's loving it. So as we close, I'm going to share a few words. And first of all, I'm going to share something Sue came across just the other day after Bill's passing. It was something Bill wrote on September 23rd. We think it's 7th or 8th grade, from Mr. Stingley's language class. And it's called The Cave. So this is Bill's writing in his own words. The cave was dark and forbidding. A small shaft of celestial light shone through a small hole in the roof. A few mounds of crumbled limestone lay on the floor. The roof curved up, and curved away to go on for an indefinite measurement. A small pool of stagnant water laid on the floor. Its green and yellow moss felt like jello when you touched it. The sides of the cave felt damp and crumbled in certain parts at the slightest touch. In the back of the cave was a small murky hole with a mysterious look on it. Above it was a small waterfall falling over this hole. The pitter-patter of the water to the stone made an effect in the cave. A dark, musty smell enveloped the cave. The smell came from parts unknown, maybe below the cave, maybe above. A small stream, maybe 5 inches across, splish-splashed down over countless rocks. At one part, the light shone right upon the rocks under the stream. The effect was that the rocks shone like 1,000 mirrors and precious jewels. I left. So that's an example of Bill's writing as a youngster. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I think it's funny, Sue, on your phone, the day after Bill died, there was some survey from a guitar store that said, "We want to hear your words." So we just kind of thought that was a message from Bill, that he wanted some of his words shared here today. Next, I'm going to read the lyrics of a song written by the Reverend Judy Campbell Clark. She was a colleague of mine. She was a pastor who passed away 2015, September 7th. She served as pastor of the church that I am pastor at now. And Bill helped Judy by writing a letter of support for a very difficult situation she was in. She loved Bill, and Bill really loved her. They only met a few times, but it was one of those times where Bill helped someone who was in need. And the song is titled "Spirit Everywhere" that she wrote. And Bill was a real fan of nature. And he had his own close encounter with a hummingbird. So I'm just going to read the lyrics and hope it will shine a light in your life. Oh, I saw you there as a dragonfly, and you moved me so I had to cry. In your perfect grace and your quiet strength, you revealed who you are to me. When I get close to you, then you kindly let me see all the beauty you inspire. Then I turned around at a sound I heard, and I saw you there as a hummingbird, drinking nectar sweet from a thoughtful flower. You revealed who you are to me. When I get close to you, then you kindly let me see the perfection in our world. When I look around, I can feel you there in a blade of grass, in the cool night air. When you see me here, you will see my smile, knowing I am perfection too. When I'm close to you, then I'll kindly let you see all the beauty you inspire. So as we close this beautiful celebration of love for our very beloved William Buick Molkenbuhr, we're grateful to each of you for your presence here, for sharing your love and the outpouring of love and affection, appreciation that have come from so many folks whose lives Bill has touched. Those of you who are here and many of you who have written on social media. As we have celebrated the many tributes to Bill's enduring exuberance, his creativity, his talent, his passion, his brilliance, his intelligence, sense of fun and laughter, humor, and his sense of service to help others. It is inspirational. So all of us will miss you, Bill, but we will hold you in our hearts. And we know that love cannot die, it never dies. And may our enduring love comfort us as we each move forward on our individual and collective paths. And may we lighten the way of others with the inspiration that Bill has given to us. And let us hope that our love lifts Bill on his new adventures in spirit. So until we meet again, may each of you be blessed. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. So as we part today, while we're mingling, and we have the room here till 4, right? Okay, so we have the room till 4, so please mingle and talk. And as we leave today, we will be playing a special song that was selected by Sue. It's called I'll See You in My Dreams. It's an old song, but this is the version by Joe Brown as done on the PBS special, which was a tribute to the late George Harrison that Sue and Bill really enjoyed together. So please enjoy this song as we say goodbye. Blessings to everyone. Thank you for your love. Thank you, everyone.